And it looked like Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White definitely had a situation where they was in a heated exchange right before halftime.
Caitlin Clark, you need to go up to their front office, demand Stephanie White to be fired, removed.
They want the front office to pick between Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White, man.
It was only a matter of time, bro, that Caitlin Clark was going to obviously have words with Stephanie White.
Caitlin Clark needs to get the hell out of Indiana.
I think this is one of those things where it might be a turning.
The door of the changing room slammed with a force that made the whole corridor tremble. Inside, there was tension, voices were raised, and the season of the Indiana fever and crackling was going to change forever. Caitlin. At last, Clark had arrived at her, shattering. Stephanie White was on the verge of accept the repercussions of her coaching. Choices in the most explosive. Clash during the WNBA season. What would cause shockwaves if it happened next? Through the world of basketball and depart. Fans pondering whether the largest league. The star was prepared to leave Indiana. Permanently.
On the street, is CC told Stephanie White to sit Kelsey Mitchell and Howard because they don't pass. Could be true. CC went to tie her shoe after passing to Howard on a play. LOL.
And it is clear that there is a philosophical rift in the team.
The ensuing shouting match wasn't simply regarding one poor game or one dubious replacement. It was roughly several months of annoyance, lost potential, and a star who thought her coach was deliberately undermining her career. Clark's disbelief was burning in their eyes. She had maintained this franchise throughout the national prominence just to discover herself, pushed to the side of a strategy that appeared to be allergic to superstar ability. Consider constructing your whole advertising campaign centered on a record-breaking phenomenon in his second year, then placing her on a bench when the lights are most brilliant. That's the theater, exactly, of the ridiculous events taking on in Indiana.
She don't know what she's doing. She's holding Caitlin Clark back. She don't know what to do with her.
Yeah, I know Caitlin Clark plays a certain type of way. You want to build a team around your superstar player. That is not the case for this team. This front office solely, to me, only care about the regiment of their team.
Y'all was way better without her. Last year, you hear me? She is sabotaging your game. She trying to make you play slow. Know what I'm saying? You have to have the ball in your hand and play up-tempo. That's your game. And everybody, even Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder can see that. You hear me? And everybody that's saying the Fever is better without Caitlin Clark, a.k.a. my precious CC, go.
Fans aren't merely muttering criticism. In exasperation, they are howling. Social comments on updates like, I paid, abound. Not for this circus, but for Clark magic. Additionally, if this is how Fever basketball appears, like, don't include me, when you're at your most, a priceless asset feels marginalized, and it is not. No longer a coaching error. It's an insult to all those who believed in the pledge. This is where you come in, though. Watching this and experiencing the similar annoyance to thousands of fans are going through, then demolish that as. Press the button to release Caitlin in the remarks below. Let's communicate. It cannot be disregarded. Let's confirm. The front office of the Indiana Fever is aware of just how we feel around what's affecting our celebrity. To comprehend how we arrived at this explosive moment, we must return to the location where everything started. Go back several months, and the spark that started this can be found here. Whole fire. Stephanie White, discussing the Dallas Mavericks from the previous season, provided a perspective so astounding that went viral. Just now, the Mavericks played, not with Luka on the floor, though. The ball is moving, she said, popping. A number of players take the field. Let that sink in.
Stephanie White, right here, talking about Luka.
A wrist sprain in that game that has been out since. And that puts a lot on the plate of players like Spencer Dinwiddie, who just came in, and Mike Marshall for the 4-3. You should have had to play differently without Luka on the floor. He's a guy who probably used to break the balls in his hands. When he's not on the floor, that ball is moving. It's popping. Multiple players getting involved in action, and everyone's stepping up.
Okay, you can hear the excitement in her voice talking about Luka not being in there. Oh, they're moving and they're popping and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh no. You hear that and you wonder, is she one of these coaches that doesn't believe in the transcendent?
The coach was successfully claiming that the squad is more effective without his. The franchise's face? The man who took them all the way to the NBA Finals and took home the league's scoring championship. It was similar to a bakery asserting that it sells more pastries following the head chef's dismissal. White's remark was portrayed on social feeds with astonishment and amusement. Analysts sneered. Supporters screamed. However, White doubled down, portraying it as a pillar of her philosophy of coaching. No player is larger than, more than the system. Suddenly, that moment made complete sense when a comparable script took place in Indiana. In place of Luka, use the Fever, Clark, and the Mavericks. And your story is the same. A superstar is a liability.
Stephanie White, you deserve the Dodo Bird of the Day award.
And if they do not want to get a coaching make a coaching change and bring in who she wants that is going to cater to her style and build the team around her strengths, then she should walk.
And who do you think that the fans come to see? They don't come see everybody else that's on that team. I'm sorry. There's no disrespect. The Caitlin Clark effect, the CC effect is real.
This wasn't a casual comment or a disposable line. It was a manifesto. And when you understand that every puzzle, rotation of the lineup, each cold benching, every stalled quarter begins to make sense. Into position. The motto of Stephanie White is easy. Overhandling the ball can lead to you are an issue. She desires a flowing, a fence in which everyone is involved. Obligations where the dancing ball, similar to a pinball. In principle, this sounds good. Motion that is free will, selfless collaboration, elegant feeding. In practice, it too frequently appears to be a shopping cart that is malfunctioning and jerks without players running into one in the direction, another looking for direction.
I don't even understand the spacing of the offense. I'm watching Caitlin Clark drive down the right side of the lane, and Natasha Howard, rather than spacing the floor and stand in the corner, she's diving to the basket, bringing a defender to Caitlin. It's just, bro, the offense is just trash. I got to be honest with you.
But what I will say with Stephanie White is just that I hate this offense. I do not like the Indiana Fever's offense this season. It's hard to watch. And I feel like Stephanie White is bringing what she was doing with the Connecticut Sun over here.
That's exactly why men need to be coaching in the WNBA, bro. Need to be coaching. Yeah, let a man do it, bro. Because all this women coaching other women athletes, bro, it's out of there. And then these women owners and all of that, man, please, bro, y'all just tearing stuff down, bro. It's not about y'all. But it's crazy.
Caitlin Clark isn't your typical athlete. She is a point guard who has been built for generations to coordinate, ignite, elevate. Everything grinds when you bench her engine to a stop. However, White maintains that Clark's stacking usage hinders the team unity. She advocates for high consumption. Rates result in predictability and seclusion. However, the evidence suggests otherwise. The infraction occurs when Clark is not on the floor. Flatlines, teammates stray, and assistants. Scores decline while defenses gorge themselves on misunderstanding.
You played Natasha Howard more minutes in the first half than you played Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark played the fourth most minutes out of everybody in the starting lineup in the first half, and you wonder why we're losing. Caitlin 12 points, 9 assists, but she don't even look like the same player. She don't look enthusiastic. She just don't even look like she into it anymore. She kind of look like she over this. You know what I mean? And to be honest, as a Caitlin Clark fan, I'm pretty much over it as well. I just got to keep it real with you. I'm pretty much over this as well. This season is a travesty. I just feel like, she needs to explore other.
This initially failed at Vanderbilt under White with Carolyn Peck, her mentor. Despite PC's history of winning championships, the seasons were limped by Commodores with 7 victories, followed by 7 more before. A slight improvement came too late. Fans remained away, players chose not to participate, and the campus was alive with annoyance. Now, with a WNBA sideline at his disposal, White is. The same blueprint is being redone with far greater stakes. Rather than pupils in, it is front-page writers in Knoxville, and awaiting success are primetime broadcasts. The outcome is uncannily similar. A group failing in spite of their obvious abilities. However, what occurs when the celebrity attempts to shine through the debris? Let's go there. Clark's predicament now. Examine the figures. Clark's rate of use has fell by around 20% in comparison to her fantastic first campaign. Her typical game points have decreased. Her help stopped. Additionally, her trademark court, the stationary ball, obscures eyesight. Motion, the famous person once said. The arena's lighting now appears to be a guest during a leisurely rehearsal. Each and every time, when she makes contact with the ball, you can see the hesitation. Colleagues aren't running. The pause. Screens may or may not arrive at. Everything. Defenders give up on her. Immediately, challenging her to take a shot. She isn't being played off by Caitlin. Ability. The person being played off is Caitlin. The gift she was given. The electrical. She energized sold-out crowds. Has faded into a group shrug. And Clark doesn't seem to have changed. She continues to perform deep threes. Reads the floor while threading needles. Similar to an open book. The sole item that her opportunity has changed. Whites. The system welcomes each initiative with a rotational scatter plot, an algorithm that views creativity as a bug. Resulting in a celebrity being deprived of rhythm, pushed into seclusion and coerced to struggle for every inch. After the game, the score on the box reveals the story. Poor shooting performance, team breakdown. The coach attributes it to the period of transition. Supporters call foul. Commentators shake their heads. The fundamental problem is still hidden behind technical terms on balancing and unpredictable, but the specters of the past. Errors persist in the background. Duration. To go back in time. It's not White's first time. At Vanderbilt, she delivered sermons. System purity during PC's victory. Mantra. 7 wins were displayed on the scoreboard. 23 defeats, followed by 7 and 24. A season. On Moss, players moved. Supporters lost hope. Is anyone observing? Acknowledge that a coach who is afraid of stars. She'll be choked to death by power. Greatest resources. White and Peck took home a title. Years prior to that, Vanderbilt. Stint but collegiate success. Magic in competitions is not guaranteed. Venues for professionals. The WNBA requests distinct tempos, distinct egos, and greater stakes. However, White has basically transplanted the identical blueprint. She pursued the legend that superstars lose to unpredictability, dependability. She gave up her speed for motion, and when she became irritated, she chastised the players for their lack of commitment. Instead, the system is to blame for their failure. Her track is now standing on WNBA hardwood. Real-time playback of the record is occurring. The Fever's patchy record provides no comfort when you think about the available resources. They surged into the arrival of Clark. When you arrange for a celebrity to go on media tours, prime time slots, jersey campaigns, then put her on the sidelines when it matters most, you could lose your reputation and your credibility. Thus, why are fans at last noticing it? Indiana? Due to the misfires piling up, too high to overlook. Social media has turned into an online riot. Having a fever. Posts, Caitlyn is trending for free. One admirer said, either unleash our star or return our money. Another said that, take a break for the entire season. Even informal viewers who are not taught basketball. The discrepancy is detected by strategies. They observe the empty seats, listen to the hushed applause, and I wonder why their ticket purchase felt similar to a front row in slow motion. Collapse. Sponsors have begun to inquire. Sharp inquiries. Broadcasters nationwide are nervous and cautious in the post-game area. Conference calls that seem like a minefield. Anticipates each interview with a coach. Athletics. Reporters harass front desk employees. How are you going to fix the ball? In Clark's hands, whisper insiders. That some business leaders worry about losing the league's main attraction if the circumstances goes on. This isn't a fringe complaint. It is a large-scale rebellion. Admirers paying a premium for television. Instead, viewers are seeing replays of set plays with inexpensive bricks and squander downtime. They put their enthusiasm in Clark's rise and witness it, oppressed by a system that doesn't her spotlight. And when there are enough, they mobilize when they perceive a betrayal. They share videos, tag the group, and leave a ton of comments. Posts requesting change. That you can't ignore digital thunder. But what needs to be done by the Fever front office? To calm the storm? The proof continues to growing opposition to White's strategy. Simply observe what transpired when Clark returned from a recent injury to her groin. She returned after missing 5 games to a very different beginning. Lineup. White made a historic shifts, shifting components like the chess master who failed to remember the goal is to triumph. The outcome was expected. Clark appeared uneasy. The group appeared haphazard, and supporters felt deceived. Once more, her game of return against the Valkyries of the Golden State came to an humiliating 80-61 loss. 10 points for shooting 4 out of 12, 2 out of 5 from outside the arc. The numbers aren't these of the release of a celebrity. These are a player's numbers being choked. However, this is what makes it even more frustrating. In fact, the Fever, sans Clark, won the Commissioner's Cup. On the ground, Natasha Howard took the initiative with 12 rebounds and 16 points in a 74-point defeat of the defending team by 59. The Minnesota Lynx, White, and her defenders cite this as evidence that the system functions. They say it demonstrates the group can work without depending on one participant, but they're not getting the point completely. No one desires a squad that performs better when their top player is not present. No one is interested in seeing a championship team that reaches its pinnacle when their star resides on the bench. The actual tragedy is that Clark's unique genius is still glows through the commotion, even in a reduced role, averaging more than 17, 8 assists and 8 points each game. Season. She is creating a highlight reel, making difficult threes, making passes, and carrying the burden of attack anytime. At last, White lets her go. However, some moments seem like snatched snippets of grandeur as opposed to the persistent qualities that we ought to observe in each evening. In the meantime, the coaching choices continue to become more perplexing. White recently provided justification for her lineup adjustments by discussing Clark's screen setting and playing without the ball. She underlined how Clark might receive hostile glances if she